can.
Probably okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's call it to order then. And we do roll call.
Yep, Joe Thompson.
David Roth. Jerica, you there?
Jerica Draft.
Nancy Roof. And I just wanted to start with a little announcement. Tonight I'm announcing that I'm resigning as co-chair of this committee. You hadn't heard. I'm gonna become just a regular member. I'll continue to reserve the room for the meetings. And I'm gonna take my turn as recording secretary. I can start tonight, give you a break. I'll retain my vote when needed, and I will continue to pursue the mission of this committee. And I wanted the public to understand that no one asked me to do this. No one ever even hinted at my doing this. It's my idea. On the other hand, only David asked me to reconsider. I've shared my reasons with the committee members, and suffice it to say, I think I can contribute more effectively as a regular member than I can as the co-chair. And we still have a lot of work ahead of us, so let's do it.
Obviously, yeah, I mean, Nancy, I would just say, like, I'm personally really thankful for all the work that you've put in so far. Obviously, we're gonna keep working together on this. I was disappointed to hear that you were resigning. But, you know, I think if you feel that you're doing what's right for you, then I support that.
I'm hoping in the end it's good for the committee as well.
I would say my comments would be that as far as chairing the committee, I personally think it's probably too much work just for me to do by myself. So I would think that, I would say that we should probably have a new co-chair. And, you know, we don't have to, if you want to think about it, we don't have to decide it tonight, or we can't. It's no difference to me. Obviously, I know this is a lot of work for all of us. We all have stuff going on in our lives outside of here that demand our attention as well. But I would say that I would need some additional assistance in chairing the committee. So it'd be great if I could have a co-chair.
So I will state that Nancy sent us a nice letter with the rationale and reasonings for why she was going to step down as co-chair. It was very well thought out. I can tell you've been thinking about it for a while and considering it. I would have said, would you reconsider, but it was obvious to me that you put enough thought into this, you were done as a co-chair, so it was very evident. So I agree this is a lot for one person to tackle. Be willing to step in as co-chair or maybe restructure chairman as a vice chairman, which means I would only take over when you're not around. But I would still take on some responsibilities as far as doing the agenda or whatever else we can work with. But you know, I think Nancy showed good leadership, and I think you at the helm as the chairman would be good. I'd definitely be willing to step in as vice chair and help out and substitute in when you can't be present for a meeting or a commission meeting or whatever.
I would support that. I don't know that we can vote on it according to the resolution. We have to have everybody here.
Okay.
So we can,
Consider it for next time. Yes, Jerica?
I was just going to add, to reiterate Joe, off of what you said, Nancy, I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you've done as co-chair.
Thank
I
you.
understand from your email your reasons why, and it seems very thought out, so I'm not trying to persuade you to change your decision. I want to respect your decision, I support what you said and you stepping in.
Okay, thank you.
I think everybody is supposed to be here next week. I think that is the one day of the month that Jim will be here. And you'll be here, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
So whatever we do, we can vote on it next week.
So we can take the next week, think about it, and then we'll bring it to a vote next week. If that's okay with everyone else.
Yep.
Is that okay with you, Jericho?
Yes, sounds good to me.
So with that, we'll have to approve the minutes. We need to approve the minutes for the August 8th and the August 22nd meetings.
I believe I was the secretary for both of those meetings, correct?
I think so, and I think we already chimed in on the 8th. I think we could have voted on it last time had we all been here.
Okay,
So I think that one's
Yeah.
good to go.
okay, perfect. I don't know if we voted on it or not, so I never sent that over to Christine, so that's why you don't see meeting minutes on there. I wasn't sure, I did make the revisions for the August 8th meeting, via emails on the feedback, so. I'll probably go
Well, I
back.
guess we're not all present again, actually. But it's just minutes.
Just minutes, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Jericho's here, she's remote, but you
Jim's
got,
not here.
correct. You got a quorum.
That's
You
true.
got it. You got it.
Well, we did last week too. I'm okay with voting for him.
For both sets of minutes.
Well, on the 22nd, I did have a revision on the interviews. Didn't we talk about, for the interviews, adding a pre-addressed envelope with the interview letter? In case they wanted to mail their response back?
Okay, yes, you're right. You are correct on that. I will add that to the meeting minutes.
I can't remember what address we were using.
I think we needed to do some investigation on if we were just going to have it come back to the city or just send it to one of our first, I don't know if is it legal to send to one of our personal homes or does it have to be to the city?
I would either send it to the city or to Frank's office.
Okay.
Unless you do it by email, and then just have it come back to our committee email address. But it's-
Yeah, we were trying to give options to people to do either way.
Okay, yeah, but I would say that, yeah, by mail, I would either send it to Frank's office or the city building,
Okay.
maybe addressed to like Michelle Perry or.
And the name of our committee in the front of it.
Right.
So that's the revision I would suggest for the minutes.
Okay, I will get that added in.
Otherwise, do we
Does
not?
any, and I know Joe and David, you weren't at the last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago technically. But if you have any, well, I guess you wouldn't have anything to add.
I'm not even sure we can vote on them since we weren't there to. This is correct. Since we weren't present, we can't really say.
We didn't see it. We just talked about it.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'll get that revision made and then I'll resend that out. And I'll send the 8th meeting minutes to Christine as a PDF.
okay,
That's fine.
you'll get the 8th. Okay.
So the minutes, okay, so we're gonna come back to the August 22nd minutes after
Yes,
the revisions are made. We'll come back to that next week.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look now at our topics for discussion. The first topic is status on the legal counsel. Obviously, if you followed what happened at our presentation at the city commission meeting on Tuesday. There was disappointing news, which is that Dan Brown, the attorney that we recommended that the city hire to represent us, withdrew. And the email that Dan sent to Frank and to us was that he thought his focus was more primarily environmental, and he thought maybe we needed somebody that was more focused in municipal law. Now, you know, Dan's a professional. I mean, those were his words. I will say that I said at the commission meeting, I have a couple emails from Dan, one on July 26th that stated he was discouraged kind of by the lack of speed, I guess, at which this was happening. I don't know if I have that email here or not, but
Yeah, he was waiting patiently.
yeah. Basically, I mean, so we reached out to Dan for the first time. I reached out on June 20th. And I kind of went over the timeline at the commission meeting, but it's just been, it seems like just a series of steps that we had to take. We had to, you know, and maybe, you know, I am not used to working in government. I am not used to that slower process, if that's how it is, I guess. But, you know, we had to do a statement of work, which is fine. That took a couple of days to figure out. We had to provide his credentials, so a practice profile, a resume. You know, there was talk about, well, we need to add an item to the agenda to reappropriate money to the budget to pay for it, and then it turned out, well, we don't need that reappropriation of funds. That's okay. And, so there was just back and forth. And if you haven't seen the commission meeting, I would advise you to go check that out because we spelled it out pretty clearly there. But obviously it was disappointing. It was disappointing for me. I know it was disappointing for everyone on the committee. Kind of felt like a blow, a moment of defeat. And I think all of us kind of have taken some time. I know I certainly did, just to think like, you know, is there really a point, or, you know, moving forward on this? It just doesn't seem like we have any momentum. But, you know, after thinking about it, you know, you think about the importance of what we're doing. There's a lot of people that are counting on us. And I just feel like it's too important to give up and that we shouldn't quit. So at the commission meeting, you know, they were pretty clear with us. They told us they think we need to continue on. Dan Brown did provide 3 recommendations for attorneys. So we have 3 more recommendations to investigate. And we're gonna try to get that done as soon as we can. I'll talk a little bit more. I guess, I mean, we're on that part of the agenda, right? So, I guess we're pressing on with our mission, and so I guess the biggest thing now is to figure out who we're gonna get to represent us, and how we're gonna do this. I was wondering if we could split it up, and I was wondering if maybe somebody would reach out to one of the attorneys. I'd be willing to reach out to one of them. I don't know.
That wasn't one of them, didn't we learn that one of them had some ties with the city?
I think there was a conflict with one of the attorneys. So just to give everyone transparency on who we're talking about. There's Chris Conrad at Coolidge Wall, which is a firm in Dayton. Good firm, I've done stuff with them in the past. Amelia Blankenship from Bricker Graydon. I don't know that firm personally, but Dan recommended them, so. The problem is we were told that there may be a conflict where the city of Piqua may be working with Bricker Graydon on some other work, so there may be a conflict of interest there. The last attorney was Gerald McDonald, and he's at Pickrell, Schaefer and Ebeling. It's another firm that I'm familiar with, good firm. So I was wondering if someone wanted to reach out to Chris Conrad, and I could reach out to Jerry McDonald at PSNE.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. So, you want me to go reach out to Chris Conrad?
Yeah, and we could just tell him, you know, kind of the situation that we have been facing, tell him about Dan Brown and what happened there. And then his hourly rate, we want to know what his hourly rate was.
What about that statement of work?
Yeah,
What it stated with Frank's tweaks?
I think I can take the statement of work and based on Frank's handwritten edits, I can amend it a little bit and then send it back out. And we, you know, we can show it to Frank, and once, you know, if we get his blessing on it, then there shouldn't be any hiccups. I'm just trying to prevent hiccups down the road.
Did Dan say if you reached out to any of these folks to let them know about us and that he had communication and that we might be in contact, or would we just be calling out of the blue? You know?
He said, and this is from his email, he says, in the alternative, I recommend that you contact one or all of the following attorneys who practice in the Dayton and Cincy areas whose practice focus is on advising public sector entities. Chris Conrad, Amy Blankenship, and Jerry McDonald. And then he said, I think one of them might be a better fit for this matter, good luck. So I don't think, you know, you could tell them, they may know. I mean, there's attorneys in Dayton that are aware of what's going on. So they may know what is going on. I know that there's people at PSNE that know what's going on because the attorney I reached out to for a recommendation, it works at PSNE. He forwarded me to, Chris Walker?
Okay.
Yeah.
We've actually got you to Dan Brown.
Right. So
When I called the Dayton bar, seemed like a long time ago now, they knew immediately.
Yeah, so,
Are we okay with this edited statement of work? I'm not suggesting one way or the other, I'm just wondering how you feel, how any of us feel. You too, Jerica.
I think, what did he say,
If the subpoenas have to go through him,
through Frank's office?
through Frank, and he doesn't want to do subpoenas. And the other was that if they were trying to, if the lawyer was trying to find a legal way for us to meet privately, that they would have to consult with Frank about sunshine laws.
correct.
Yeah.
So I didn't say we couldn't do it, so they'd have to meet with Frank, but so far Frank has not thought of a way for us to do it.
Right, and after we left the commission meeting the other night, Frank followed us out to look for this document, and we stood out there for, I don't know, half hour, went through some of our concerns with Frank, and one of the things he said was that the sunshine laws, he's worried about us doing something illegal to get the city in trouble, and so he's got to kind of monitor that. That's the rationale behind it, and I think the same with the subpoenas. He just has to be involved in that so the city stays out of legal hurdles.
Right.
So,
Because you gotta think, like, if somebody sued the committee, they would be filing suit against the city, essentially. And that's, you know, whether or not the 5 of us on the committee agree with that or want that, you know, that's just the nature of the beast, I guess. That's just how the committee is formed.
I suppose if we got a lawyer that has a good argument that could convince Frank
Yeah,
that there is a way to do this,
yeah,
maybe it's possible.
yeah. No, I was disappointed with Dan Brown not taking a side. I felt like there's a lot of things, ecological speaking, environmentally speaking, and the guy that, Dan, who's been involved in lawsuits, would know people or processes and would have some good avenues for us to pursue based on his experience and knowledge in that area. You know, and so that's why I picked him. That was my choice, was to have him versus the other gentleman out of Cincinnati. The other gentleman is municipal all day long.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have the website Toxic Pickle and we have concerns and we gotta figure out what happened with the environment and is there anything there? Who can we go to or what can we do? What are some avenues and people to reach out to? And I figured his expertise would help us in that realm. So I don't know how he thought that we needed to be with a municipal attorney, but
I
that's
think
where
he
we
was,
find ourselves.
I think he was feeling firsthand experience of the stumbling blocks that are in our way.
I think,
Think you got a fair statement there.
it's all, I
Well,
mean,
then it,
go ahead, Jerica.
I was just gonna say too, but then when we look at the SOW and the revisions that Frank had back, I wonder if that's when he started to question if he's the right specialty for this. Because both of those revisions are on sunshine laws and subpoenas and municipal law. So that's where I started to question, like, maybe that's where he got that perspective. It's like, just that alignment wasn't there until the revisions of the SOW came back. And then he's like, oh, wait a second, I don't know if I am, you know, a good fit for this or not, because this isn't my specialty. I don't know, that was just one perspective I had. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Just sharing my thoughts.
I'm not sure if Dan ever actually saw the edits on the statement of work.
And they look exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that Dan saw the document with Frank's handwritten notes that we saw. Frank may have told him in a voicemail, like, hey, these are the edits that I would need to be made to this statement of work. I think that there's a couple of things that are worth remembering, which is one, Dan Brown is a one-man show. He's got his own law practice, which is the Brown Law Office in Dayton. So his focus is environmental, not so much municipal. Although when we initiated contact with him, he seemed okay with doing research on the municipal part. But, where was I gonna go with that? But yeah, so he's a one-man show and does municipal law, or environmental law. And that's, the good thing about the recommendations that he gave us was that, Coolidge Wall is a pretty big firm. PS&E is a pretty big firm. I'm not sure about the third law firm, but, there might be other attorneys at the firm that do have expertise in environmental law. Obviously, if you went to their website, you could look and see the list of attorneys there and their specialties, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was someone at Coolidge Wall that handled environmental law issues. So the bigger the firm, the more resources. The only downsides could be, a higher hourly rate. Obviously, we'll find that out. The other downside is that, we may show this statement of work to these other firms, and they may see that, okay, well, we got to answer to Frank, well, okay, we're not going to do that, so, and they back out. Or for whatever reason, they just don't want the engagement. And in that case, we would be back at square one. So those are the only risks that I see that we've got going on right now. But I think, if we could expedite this, reach out to both of these firms in the coming week, and then by Thursday, make our decision who we want to recommend, and then get that over to the city commission and the city manager and Frank and tell them, hey, this is what we want to do. That way they can get it on their agenda and Paul can sign the documents he needs and all that can get done. Because, I think everybody's kind of just tired of waiting and we want to get this ball rolling and we want to get this done. So those are my thoughts on that.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments about legal counsel?
if at some point we would feel the need to double back with Tim Burke, I could do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But I think maybe let you guys go ahead first with these, with Dan's recommendations
we
and
can see
see
it,
where we get.
that's fine.
Fair enough.
So next, we'll look at status of upcoming interviews. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Well, we were waiting on having our lawyer in place.
Yeah, I mean, having the lawyer in place to help us out, I mean, that was, yeah, kind of a big piece of our foundation.
Well, we have a letter drafted that, the request for interview that we want to send out to those people that like to talk to.
Yeah,
And I mentioned we'd like to have our attorney as one of the signature folks on that document. And Frank, again, after that commission meeting in the hallway, said, welcome to put his signature on it if we think that would add some credibility to it. Whether we do it or not, that's up for debate, but just saying that we all sign it, you know, our attorney signs it, if we could get Frank's signature on it, we send it out. I don't know if Frank being on it would be a blessing or a curse, you know, depending on who we send it to.
Yeah.
So, just going to food for thought as we think about tweaking that document and getting it ready to send out. What do we do with that?
yeah, so just so everybody's aware is what's going on, so we have a letter on city letterhead that we're gonna send out to all of these individuals that we wanna interview. Now, it's kind of, you know, is it gonna amount to anything? It may not.
We're giving them choice of in-person interview or questions, right?
Right.
Questions are right.
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, sorry, no, Nancy, I think the option in the letter is to say we can do this remotely or in person. So I think we kind of put the option out there as like, we wanna talk to you, we can do this remotely or in person, and then if they say no, then I think that's when we can come back and say, would you just be willing to answer written questions for us?
What do you mean by remotely?
Like a video
Remotely,
call?
like
Zoom or something?
Skype or phone call, what, I mean, some of these people that we're trying to get hold of are not local.
I don't remember us even talking about that.
I think it's just a bullet line item in the drafted letter.
Yeah, some folks won't try to pick one, but they might do it as a Zoom call or a Skype call or something for a remote interview.
I guess it'd be okay.
I think it would be a good option, and if they won't do either, then maybe the third option being written questions.
I think if we could remove as many hurdles on their end, you know, if someone's
There's
up in,
more buy-in.
yeah, if someone's living in Michigan or wherever,
Oh, yeah.
like, that's okay, we'll just pull out all the stops, make it easy for you to come talk to us, as easy as you want it to be, we'll do what we can. Anything to increase the odds of getting them to talk, I think we should do. So I'd be okay if we did like a Zoom call or,
Could you send us a draft, David had added some edits, I think, so maybe we need to see an updated draft.
I think the draft
I
that,
did send that out, I think that I thought I sent that out to everyone this week,
I-
with the billable and revisions.
yeah.
I don't recall.
Saw something yesterday.
Okay.
Actually saw something yesterday. Yeah, I haven't been home today to check emails, but saw it yesterday afternoon.
I can look
My
for it.
weekend's running together with having Labor Day off, but I thought I sent over the updated drafted letter.
Okay,
Yeah, you
I'll look
did.
again.
Yep.
Okay, if you don't have that in your inbox for some reason, just let me know and I'll resend it.
The only thing I noticed, Jericho, was that there wasn't much room at the bottom for signatures, but I mean, I guess we don't need to hand sign, but we could put our names down there, so we may need to add some space at the bottom for our names and our signatures.
Right, yeah, and then once we make the decision too about, do we have to, once we hire a lawyer, do we want their signature at the bottom or Frank's or what that looks like? I'll send all those revisions together back to Diana.
Okay.
other comments about upcoming interviews?
So what's our goal for when we want this sent?
Well, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to have our attorney on board. So it all predicates off of when we can get them on and that date. I'd hope today we'd get, or we'd be today, I was really hoping we'd have an attorney with us today.
Yeah, we all did.
So here we sit.
I mean, I'll do whatever everybody else wants to do. I'm just wondering if it's, it's just a letter on letterhead. I don't know how much the attorney's gonna make a difference with this letter.
So if you'd like to see it go out soon, that's fine.
So
We
just
can get it out.
do it without the lawyer's signature, you're saying?
I mean, if you want.
Because it is on city letterhead.
Correct. I mean, if we want to add Frank's signature, if he wants to sign off, maybe that'll help ease people's,
First, I think I'd rather have it just be the committee.
just the 5 committee members.
We are supposed to be an independent committee, and we're using city letterhead, that's already compromised.
So I think, with a couple more tweaks to the letter, I think, I read it, I thought it was fine, I didn't think it was, causing any legal risk or anything.
So how do we get our signatures on
It's a good question. There is a way you can digitally sign, have a digital signature. You can paste it to the PDF.
Yeah, that would be probably the easiest, so then they're doing digitally on the letter. But I don't know if everyone would have the tool and capability to do that.
Yeah,
I could go to who's ever office in the city, Bill, and sign, whoever the city's working with us on this. I could go to her PC and sign it. She can send me a link and I can sign and send it back. So if they could send us a link or something like that, we could do it. So we got some smart people over there, we figured it out.
yeah. Jerica, is that something that you think you'd wanna handle?
Yeah, that is perfectly fine. I've been the one communicating with Michelle Perry and her team. So I can just continue with the revisions and as we formalize this out.
Okay,
Don't they just
Yes, I'll take action on that.
I just did a digital signal on something called DocuSign,
yeah.
so isn't that something that could be used?
It's kind of like that, well, on DocuSign, you can write your own signature, use your mouse and write your own signature. And that's kind of like what we're talking about.
Okay, so Jerica, you know what to do?
Yep.
Okay,
Figure it out. Anything else on upcoming interviews? Okay. So regarding the second round of questions for Paul Oberdorfer, the focus has been so much on Dan Brown, that we have not submitted any more questions to Paul yet.
well, we did talk, I guess maybe we didn't get that into this, but Jericho, you, Jim and I talked about that. And didn't we say we would just add Paul to the list of everybody else that's gonna be sent this letter? And it's like starting over with him.
Okay,
And maybe he's changed his mind or maybe he'll just go with written questions again. And just treat him like everybody else. Didn't we talk about that?
Jericho, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm sorry, I don't know, can you repeat your question, Nancy?
Yeah, didn't you and Jim and I talk about Paul's, how to handle Paul for another interview? We just decided to throw him in with everybody else as if this is the first round for him.
Yeah. That's what we discussed with the three of us. I don't know what David and Joe's thoughts are on that, but I think we were just thinking, let's just, or instead of starting from scratch, let's just start with where you know, where we're gonna start with all of our participants.
And Jerica developed a spreadsheet that is gonna have everybody's names in there and what gets sent to them and how they respond and when they respond and everything about the whole process. She's gonna be tracking.
Yeah, I think for a final report and for documentation, we should do that, so we can add that to
That's
all
what
the
I was
items
thinking,
that.
is it could be a
Yep,
yeah, I was thinking it could be a really nice, easy way just to put that in the appendix of our report of see table A on, the interviewee list, who accepted, who rejected it in the typing format. Because it will affect the quality of our report, so.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, okay. Okay. So moving on, brainstorming recommendations.
Yeah, this was my idea, but I don't know if we're ready for it now. I thought we'd be a little further on with the lawyer, but at some point, we need to just start brainstorming what we want to add to the recommendations for the report for the commissioners. And just as we go along, or we could do some brainstorming now, or put it off till another week.
There was one thing that we talked about after the commission meeting that I thought was a good point. I think maybe you mentioned it.
quite a long conversation.
I found it interesting that I think Chris Lee, maybe DeBras, and Frank, I think they all have started referring to the report as the timeline instead of a report.
I think the timeline will be part of the report, for sure.
But they're not calling it a report anymore, they're calling it a timeline. So there's something significant to them about a timeline.
Well, we'll give them both. We'll give
Yeah.
them the full timeline, it'll be a great
We
timeline.
can give them a lot of timelines, a
And
lot of
then,
sub-timelines.
but we also are gonna give them recommendations, that we think would help beyond what's already been done. But yeah, I mean, in the Google Doc online, we could either make a new Google Doc just for recommendations, or we could add a section in that same document that everyone's got access to. Create a section for recommendations, and then just kind of, as we get ideas for recommendations, just jot them down. That way, we have something to reference. And then we can kind of flesh that out later on when we are ready to dive into the report.
Okay.
So with that, we'll talk about committee member progress reports.
Yeah, up until last Thursday, we were tracking to have an attorney, and this meeting was geared towards having him in the room, so. Just stuck until we move forward with this.
I agree, I kind of feel like, there's times where it feels like it's one step forward and two steps back. But I think, like I said earlier, the mission is too important to give up, and I think, we're gonna keep on. I was wondering, and, I guess one thing I wanted to talk about tonight, which I didn't email anybody beforehand, so this is kind of like off the cuff, but I don't know if we want to talk about maybe our agendas going forward. I was kicking around the idea of, well, I know this is a huge commitment for everybody. And I wondered what would happen if we went to a meeting every other week. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not a good idea. So I definitely don't want to recommend that we go to a meeting every other week, and then the productivity drops. You know, I don't want us to I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Start getting
Maybe you
soft
don't
or
want us
just,
to like lose sight of progress.
Yeah.
With tracking our items.
yeah. And if we wanna keep meeting every week, I'm okay with that. I know it's a lot. But I was also thinking, maybe we could play around with the agenda a little bit and maybe add some more topics for discussion, maybe like every week we choose a subject that we wanna really discuss at the next meeting.
I like that.
So like, maybe something that we've all worked on or wanna talk about or we think is interesting, and maybe we pick a couple, maybe we pick like 2 good subjects that we just wanna really dive into at the next meeting and talk about the documents that we have, talk about, things that are in the documents, if we do that, I would recommend that we, don't use names of individuals. But I think we could have some more meaty discussions at our meetings. Just a thought that I had. Like I said, this is all off the cuff.
You mean don't name names in the meeting?
Yeah, during our
Because
meetings.
in the report, we're gonna have to,
Yeah.
there's emails.
Yeah, the report's gonna be, the report, you're gonna have to say names, but you're gonna have documents to back it up, so, you can't sue someone for defamation if there's an email or a recording of them, that they said what they said, so.
Yeah, if they're working with the government agency, either as a vendor or as an employee, they ought to understand they're open to FOIA. So that information's out there.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
But I agree with you, if we went every other week, I would recommend maybe the off weeks, maybe we can meet a couple of us, like we did down at the library.
I was gonna say that.
We can put together a report and start working in tandem, and we can have the open conversations and get each other's notes together, and that way we're not violating sunshine laws, but we're moving forward towards the report and getting all this stuff documented. I think, David, that would be a much better idea, because I'm with you, we've hit a point now where it's leveled off to, classic, and we gotta keep plowing through.
We need conversation, and if we meet every other week on the off week, we can keep the room, keep reserving the room, and at least 2 of us can use the room to discuss things.
So I think next meeting, we should put this up for a vote to amend our meeting schedules every other week. Let's maybe talk about how that will look and come together with an idea of what we can do and what we're driving at.
I think that's an even better idea, in the off week.
Maybe
Joe wants to meet, Nancy wants to meet with me.
maybe we could reserve 2 rooms, and have 2 in one room, 2 in another, we can't have 3.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd try to reserve the rooms downstairs like we did on the second floor.
Oh, yeah.
Private rooms and
But we have this one as well, so you just need 1 room downstairs,
just one
and that
downstairs.
takes care of 4 of us.
But you also have to just remember, like, you're not limited to Thursday.
Right.
So in like an off week, maybe I can meet with Nancy Tuesday and Joe on Thursday. Or Nancy and Joe can meet, or Jared.
The complication is reserving the room, if it's.
We don't have to go in this room.
But
You're saying any room, like second floor?
it's easy to reserve this one.
Yeah.
We've got it for all of September already.
Oh, okay.
But no, I get you, Dave, this would be a good room for the timeline to be at, whatever, 2 of us are meeting downstairs, 2 up here, the timeline's here, we all add to it, that's a timeline meeting,
Yeah,
because it's big and spread out, and we can keep it here.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's not like, I don't want people to think like, oh, we're gonna only meet twice a week now, if if people don't think we're productive anyways, you know, they're gonna think that we're being less productive. I don't want people to think that, but I also want to prevent burnout. And I also don't like coming here every week and wasting the community's time if we don't really have anything substantive.
I get you.
I agree, and I think that we could place that time of just, meeting every week, and if it's more conducive to do that every other week, those off weeks might be really heavy lifting, where we can really focus in small groups of the two. I think it's useful to look at it through that lens. I think there could be a lot of benefit for us and the community.
Because then my hope would be that our meetings here with the 5 of us could be a lot more meaningful, and just, there could be a lot more discussion. You know, we could talk about, well, Nancy and I met, we talked about this, and what do you guys think? And, Joe and I talked about this, what do you guys think about this? Or there could be just a lot more meaningful discussion, I think.
I think we should be disciplined about it though, and not slough off and let those off weeks slide into nothing.
Correct.
I think we need to schedule them.
If it feels
These
like.
2 people will be in the library, these 2 people will be here.
Yeah, if it starts feeling like we are becoming less productive, I'll recommend that we go back to our weekly meetings.
No, I think we were in an informational structure for a while, getting information, processing information, trying to research information. I think we're moving in out of that into developmental, which is we've got to develop the information we have, and we've got to meet to do that. We've all tried to do stuff, we all have stuff independently, but we need to start marrying that together, coming together with a report.
Right.
So
We need to synthesize everything we've got.
we can't do that, even though there are names and things on the report. You don't want to have an open discussion and throw those things out, because then the innuendo starts. And we're not saying that happened, we're just working theories here. But somebody can take that and run with it, and all of a sudden we said something that's libelous or slanderous or whatever.
Yeah, so we just have to remember, like, in our meetings here, don't say things like, oh, person X, did this, or person X is guilty because of this, or, those kinds of comments we'll have to avoid, but, those are just my thoughts. I just,
No, I'm with you. We gotta keep moving, and even though there's no deadline or timeline for this sad thing to happen, it's gotta happen in the very near future. And, all we can do is keep working on it and making progress each week.
Now, next week, we'd all want to be together though, because we have a few
We're already
things to
set,
do.
yeah, we got a
So then
couple
we can
months to go.
Start the off week, 2 weeks in from now.
so that ties into our next topic, which is confirming next meeting dates. So today's the 5th. So we're saying that our next meeting with everyone would be the 19th.
And the week after that, then we need this room and the room in the library.
Correct.
Since I'm reserving rooms, you want me to just take care of that?
So today's the 5th, the next week's the 12th.
Yeah.
So, is that one, because we gotta also consider Jim's got travel this month, bus schedule. Is he
Well,
gonna- is he
There's gonna be a
on the
few,
12th?
on the off week, there's gonna be one left out anyway.
So, yeah, but I was thinking Jim's gonna be available next week, and we should maybe get together as a group of 5, so we can.
No, for next week, for sure. Next week, here, all 5.
9, 12, all 5.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we need to vote. If we're gonna make it this kind of a change, everyone should be.
So then the beginning, the 19th will be the off week.
And this room's already reserved, but I can talk to the person in the library to reserve one room down there. And then Jim won't be left out because he won't be here anyway.
That's right. It's fine.
So September 12th will be a full committee meeting. September 19th will be off week, we'll just meet.
Yep.
And there might be, there's other days that week, I could probably meet Nancy if you wanna meet, or however you wanna do it, I don't care. But we'll have the rooms reserved for Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 26th will be everybody, it'll be a full committee meeting. And we'll vote on this next week.
Yes. Oh, I like it, David. Thanks for coming up with that.
It was just a thought. And if you think between now and next week that you don't like the idea, just shoot off an email.
I didn't like the idea of just every other week, but now that we're filling it in,
Yeah, I kinda like, yeah, I
Yes,
didn't
and
think about that,
then that's really good.
yeah.
I think we need it. We need to work it.
Okay.
That, so those would not be, they're not regular meetings, so they're not public meetings.
Yeah,
off
right,
weeks.
the off weeks.
Yeah, they won't be recorded.
There's no quorum, so we're not an
No
official
agenda,
committee,
no
we're just
minutes,
some
no-
members working on our stuff.
It's just work sessions for us.
Yeah, that's a good word for them, work sessions.
So the only other thing I was wondering about was, yes, so right now we have, what, taking the minutes, we have Jarek is doing the minutes, Jim is doing the minutes, but you're doing the minutes tonight?
Yeah.
And you don't wanna do the agenda anymore?
No.
Part of me feels like we should have one person do a job. And just, everybody's got something. Maybe one person takes minutes, one person does the agenda.
I can do the minutes, because I type them up for myself anyway.
I could do the agenda, okay with that?
You might not need
Do
it.
you want, Nancy, do you want to take over, are you saying you wanna take over the meeting minutes altogether?
I'm not saying I want to, I'm saying I'm willing to.
Okay.
I want, unless you want to keep it.
No, it doesn't affect me one way or the other. I just don't know, I've only been doing the minutes besides all the other work I've been doing and sending out to you guys on the other items. But meeting wise, just let me know how I can help, I'm fine to pivot off what I've been doing, that's no problem, I just don't know where else.
But you're working on the interview questions and the Excel spreadsheet and the timeline.
Correct, I know I'm working on a lot of other things outside of the meetings. Just let me know if there's anything else from meeting perspective, logistics that I
This
can
week,
need help
every
with.
other week, I think I can.
Okay.
But see, the thing is, we've got Jim and Jarek are co-secretaries.
Yeah.
I
I don't think Jim's gonna care if that's where you're going.
just think we need to formalize it a little bit more and maybe take a vote on this next meeting.
It's been very confusing to have more than one person. And then Joe has had to fill in a few times and there's time constraints for when we're supposed to get those to Christine and the agenda over there too, so it gets posted by a certain time. It all becomes very confusing.
And I mean, I'm just putting this idea out there, if people don't like the idea, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, that's why I'm sharing it, 'cause
I can do the minutes.
okay. So Nancy's going to do the minutes. Jerica, maybe you and I could handle presentations or,
That's good.
What do you mean by that? The updates?
to the city commission. And then Joe, the agenda.
Sure, happy to.
And I'm sure there's other stuff we can find for Jim. But again, like, this is just talk for now, but we'll meet next week, we'll vote, we'll see how Jim feels about it. I don't know, that's just been my thinking, like, it's like, who does the minutes this week, and Nancy doesn't wanna do the agenda anymore, which is totally fine. And then the chair, vice chair, co-chair, we'll figure that out and vote on that next week too.
And we can feed in ideas for the agenda. I was always open to, nobody did, but very much anyway.
No, you set a good format, good structure, just follow that, tweak it here or there every other week. No worries.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, we can. But those were just thoughts that I had.
That's good.
Kind of good timing for reorganization, I think.
Yeah, I think just after everything that happened with the attorney, it was kind of an inflection point for all of us, and it was a lot processing that, but yeah, we'll just adapt and we'll move forward, and hopefully we, can be better going forward, so. But with that, I don't know if there's testimonials. Anybody?
I don't think so.
Otherwise, we can open it up for public comment.
I would like to say, first and foremost, thank you to you committee members for continuing to move forward. I know that this has been extremely difficult. The demeaning, the behaviors, the roadblocks, the stumbles, everything that you guys have come up against would make you want to stop. We're all watching this, the community is talking about it. The horrible treatment that you've all endured shows me that your continuation is pretty much courageous. You have made a sincere effort to move forward for all of us. We no longer have a voice. Some of us were told, you can't be a part of this. And so we can't help. But you guys are continuing to help us. I had a business person, a retired business person, not long retired, that just stopped me today. And he knows it's continuing, he has been watching it, and he said, I hope the air isn't being taken out of individuals. And I said, I hope not either, because this won't come to an end if you guys do walk away. But I think we all in the community want to say thank you for continuing forward, and you have to put aside, someone on the committee being friends and protecting this person, or someone having a hot spot for not liking that person. That stuff has to be put aside. There's no room at the table for nonsense to be going on. The only thing that should be happening is finding out what happened and reporting back to the citizens, so there can be an awareness. That is the most important thing. Put aside name calling, put aside protecting people, put aside dislikes, disdain, put it all aside. Just find out what happened, when it happened, who was involved, and give us a great report. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
We
thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I can't tell you the number of people just after Tuesday night's meeting, must have had 10 people reach out and say thanks. We didn't realize you guys were up against such challenges. And
Heard it a
solicited. And it's not been easy. It's not what we signed up for. But we appreciate the uplifting words. You can either lift us up or tear us down. And I would say most of the citizens in Piqua have lifted us up. If they wanted to do this job, they should have signed on to come and do it. But we're here and we're committed and we'll see it through to the end.
Thank you
I don't know
very
who was
much.
speaking, because I can't see.
That was
but I
Debbie
just wanna say
Stein.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate
Thanks,
those words. I
Jerica.
think, as a committee, I think we all felt very defeated last week, and it's very hard to navigate, right? And as David said earlier in our meeting, we were kind of at this inflection point, weighing a lot of different options, not knowing, we're all spending a lot of time away from our, family, jobs, activities, to volunteer our time to try to find these answers. So I appreciate the encouragement.
We thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
I want to thank you guys.
Diane Park talking.
I mean, this really does take a lot. It takes a lot out of you. And I don't want to make it, I mean, we do know. We know how it feels. But you guys were appointed and they shouldn't be doing this to you. So I'm truly sorry that you're going through this. And there is huge documents. But we were waiting for the lawyer because we want to protect ourselves too. So 2-year projects, huge. I mean, timelines back to 2015. But we don't know how this is gonna operate either. So we're waiting for the lawyer to be able, and I'm hoping that'll give you guys a boost too. Because there's a lot of information.
No, and you should wait for the attorney. I said a month or two
Yeah.
ago that the only way this thing's truly going to get finally answered and resolved would be through some sort of a litigation, if some citizen group wants to do that. Have people deposed, because for the same reason you're not getting documents, same reason we're getting back that people won't talk to us.
Right.
They're worried about their words being used against them if litigation happens, so anything they say can be held, they aren't gonna say. They don't want to impugn themselves, so we're stuck at this part where we're trying to figure things out with the piecemeal information that we can put together without speaking to individuals involved directly, so it's difficult.
And we don't blame, I'm sure that there's a lot of city workers that probably look and think, oh, they're blaming us. We don't blame everybody, just like, I mean, we're all different and people are doing their jobs. But there is people at the top that should come forward, because it is gonna come out. I'd rather people come forward now and speak up what they know, because it's coming out. There's no stopping it.
I mean, we can subpoena people, but it was very well stated to us that we have no teeth. We
Right.
have no bite, we can subpoena the hell out of the whole city and, they can tell us, go kick
I'm
butt.
trying to encourage people to come out before it all comes out and then people look like, why didn't you come forward? You
Yeah.
should have. But we all have choices. But I respect what you guys are doing and I appreciate everything and want to come here tonight to support you and let you know.
Thank you for that.
And I know that this was a mission of Debbie's too. She's like, we need to show up and support you guys.
How you guys took off with this just showed me you have teeth in it and you were ready to go. And you might have felt like it was slow at first, but I could tell that you were interested as much as we've been interested in researching and finding information. And I hope that the information that you are finding and that the public records request or the FOIAs, anything, that you're all looking at that together as a team. I don't know if you are, but
We're all looking at it, it's just, we can't get together as a team and really compare.
right,
Without running into roadblocks with that.
yeah, I mean, you need us out of the way too.
Well, no, you guys aren't the problem.
Yeah.
We'd take you guys all day long, but it's just,
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
That's very.
That's the first time we've heard that.
Well, and anything that we've come across and everything that we've seen, as you just said in the meeting, you can't, there's no rebuttal against it. I mean, it's in an email, it's
Right.
documented, it's public record, it's public knowledge. There's no hiding, there's no running away from it. And so once those public records do come out and everybody sees who were some of the players or what the involvement was or who the companies were, not even that, they cannot hide, it's a public record. We should not have any fear. There's no liability or fear in that with a public record, so.
I think I've said before, like, I just think part of good government is just accountability and just, you know,
Forthcoming. If you don't have anything to hide, talk.
right, you know, you take an oath to the citizens of the town, you know, there needs to be accountability. But I don't want anybody to think that, like, we're not trying, because we've put in a lot of effort. Granted, we're behind you guys. I mean, you guys have put in a ton of effort, and
But has it been received well? Like I also want to support you. I saw the meeting on Tuesday and I was like, wow, okay. And then some things were brought to my attention that were said by this committee about me that I don't appreciate. I don't understand why this committee would state I paid off Scott Smith. That's not something that ever happened. I don't appreciate it feels terrible. I put together a symposium to try to bring the community together, and then it's turned around that I paid this guy to come use scare tactics in our town and everything's fine. He hasn't been mad. That's not cool. I've given my all. I've made so many sacrifices, as has everyone in this room. We've supported you. Everything you have has come from us. You would have nothing but Frank's little binder, which also came from our FOIAs. It's hard for me to stand here when I know, like, why would you even say that? I mean, if we're gonna be transparent, I don't, what have I done that has made this community at all feel like?
I don't think anybody thinks that you paid off Scott Smith to come here and, is that what you're saying, like?
Mm-hmm.
You did wonder about it, you didn't say the word off.
No, so
Okay.
I guess,
Let's be, because we need to clear
Yeah.
the room, because I have a hard time wanting to help you if you're running around and saying things about me.
no, I was wondering, if Scott was coming back.
Then why don't you send me a message? You have my email.
Yeah, I can,
You could send me an email instead of going around and speculating and saying things that damage me.
Well, that's not fair. That's not fair. We were having a conversation with Frank.
yeah,
It came up organically. Was he paid to come here? It was just a question. He never accused
It was
anybody
just-
of paying off anybody to skew any facts or
Yeah.
mistake any claims. It was an organic conversation. It came up. Nobody said you did anything. There was no kind of innuendo. It was just a simple
Every-
question of Frank.
yeah, that conversation that we had after the commission meeting was all attorney-client privilege, just the five of us, right? Yeah, the four of us in front of
Should've
us,
stayed
just
there.
talking. No, it was an off-the-cuff thought, because I thought the symposium was great.
Which I also thought that you thought it was
I
a
thought it
good
was
thing.
fantastic.
So when this upset me very much and I wanted to make sure I
I think-
fixed it.
It's out of context.
I think there's a miscommunication. I think it's great. I was actually really excited when I saw your post that he was coming back. I was just wondering, like, okay, because in my head I was thinking, well, if I found someone to come talk to us, I would probably have to pay for them to fly here, or that is what I meant, like travel expenses, or like
But
what.
would that really matter?
It really
What does
doesn't
that matter? We
It
printed out
doesn't.
notepads, we got balloons, we got
Correct.
pens,
Correct.
we rented a venue, we had insurance, we had refreshments. There were a lot of expenses. I mean, I wanna support you, and so all I'm gonna say is that hurt me. I don't appreciate it, and I hope that it was taken out of context. And I hope that moving forward, you can have respect for the people that want the best for this community we can all work together
I mean,
and not be afraid to come forward.
I shared the comment with her,
Why?
word for word, about, I wonder if Scott Smith was paid to give the speech.
I didn't hear
That's
payoff.
what you said. He did not say the word off.
Okay, so
Yeah, I didn't know if it was, you know.
I took it as a compliment that you guys had spent money
We have
to have this.
thousands of dollars.
And I
Yeah.
think you wanted Frank to know that these people aren't just, been in your ear, Frank. They're spending their own money to get a guy like Kim here. I think you're
Scott
trying to
came out of the
impress them.
goodness of his heart. He wouldn't receive $1.
Well, you think the city manager
He wouldn't
and the
receive
local
$1.
director would want
No
to
one
sit
paid
in on
him.
that? I mean,
Well-
that would have been, and commissioners, we have one commissioner there, if I'm not mistaken. So how is it harmful? I don't for a minute think anyone said paid off.
Yeah, no,
I don't
if
think
that
that.
was taken out of
But
context.
I can hear Frank, I can hear him saying, how did he get here? Who paid the airfare, who paid for the symposium, who
He
did.
didn't say anything like that,
But
but
it's really none of our business.
It's
This-
just,
You don't have to
it's-
tell us anything.
I think it came off complimentary towards you guys.
Yeah, I thought it
That
was
you
great.
put your time
that he
and
came.
money into this. Because unfortunately, I was out of town for work detail, but I've heard great things about
It was
this project.
great.
I think Dan Brown, our attorney that we have, I think he showed.
Yeah, Dan Brown
It
was
was very
Yeah.
professional, it was very nice, it was very well organized,
there
and
were
very
two
well
other
done.
attorneys in the room as well. Maybe people didn't know who they were,
Okay,
but,
but
but
yeah.
there's a lot of curiosity for it. I wish that it would have been recorded so that it could, like.
the attorney-client privilege thing, though, was ridiculous. He said that after I said, the very existence of us standing here and talking is a violation of sunshine laws. He thought about that and he said, oh, we could say it's attorney-client privilege.
And that doesn't work that way, you didn't, yes, he's a city attorney, but you didn't pay him, one, and you didn't have it in written documentation. So that's whatever he's trying to do and pull
So I
back,
didn't
it's
feel
silly.
it was a
That's a silly
violation
move.
to share some things.
That's a silly move.
But
People all want
Alicia,
to
I'll
learn.
apologize to you if that comment, because
I
that's not at all.
appreciate that, and I accept your apology, and I hope we can move forward, because I would never say anything like that. I would never try to tarnish you. I've only tried to uplift.
Yeah, I'll go on the record, I will say, I don't think anybody has come to speak or come to visit because they're being paid to do so, or they're being paid to say anything.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I was not a comment structured in a negative.
I like just.
I don't pay people to lie, I don't pay people off.
Right.
That's not who I am.
It's not even insinuated.
Thank you.
And we've all been beat up. I mean, I had a city manager, and we've gone over this 50 times, but I've gone over it once, and I'll say it to anybody and everyone again. I asked for public records requests, and lo and behold, I'm sure Frank didn't look at some of them that I got. Because if he would have looked at some of the things that I got, he will be shell-shocked. Not only did I get things that were attorney-client privilege for lawsuits that I shouldn't have gotten, and I'm reading them going, holy cow, who do I wanna give this to? Because now it's public record. Once he didn't review some of the attorney-client privilege things and it got to me, wow, is what I can say right now, is wow. But in that, we had the city manager asked to see every email of mine without going through a public records request, without following Ohio Revised Code, just telling an IT person, he wanted to see all my emails in the past 20-some years that I worked for the city of Piqua to see what I had to do with the burning of lithium-ion batteries. Absolute bullshit. Pardon my French. Who does that to an executive assistant? One, there's ethics violation. You're not following an International City Manager Association guidelines. You're not taking your oath appropriately. You don't do that to ex-city managers. You don't do it to ex-assistants. And I had nothing to hide. He could have asked me, as a city manager, he could have asked me, but instead, he wanted to see all my emails. And then, what happened is some of those employees took some of my emails and started passing them around to one another, which Frank didn't investigate, because there are comments in there about me. So who's gonna have some fun? There's enough ill going around with what has been done with this. You've experienced it, I've experienced it, you've experienced it, you all have experienced it. And it's been wrong. There was no reason for any of this.
And we're all
I have nothing
still
nefarious to
here.
hide. He can look through all my emails he wants. Have fun. He might read some funny things. Y'all might read some funny
I
things.
did.
But you're not gonna find that I was involved in burning lithium-ion batteries. There was no such talk. So we've all gone through, I'm gonna say, pure burning hell.
Oh my God.
At whose expense? There was no need for it. So, hey, I'm obviously not guilty as a city manager, but let's see what this executive assistant, she probably made some deals with Monsanto and Elon Musk and, she's probably cutting some deals. It's the most ludicrous thing that you could ever think that would go on in somebody that's supposed to be an utmost professional's mind. And that's what I got, and it's backfired.
You were also told you were gonna be on the committee.
Well, the commissioners asked me to be on the committee. They came to me specifically and said, you'd be ideal. 3 commissioners, 3. And you want me to name them? Chris Lee, telephone conversation.
And in person,
Paul,
when I was
in
there.
the room, that triangle
with
conference room.
Diane.
Paul Simmons, over and over, and Frank DeBras. You're the person, you're who we want. Somehow, some other commissioners might have said, she might know a bit too much, maybe don't do that much, go. No, but you have a former, I guess, city employee, he was, yeah, that was able to be on it. Happens to be friends with the city manager.
I just would like.
I'm getting it out in the open tonight, I'm just saying what has happened to me personally. I know what's happened to all of you, and it's not been right. It's not proper, and I have talked to former city managers, and they're just like beside themselves that this kind of stuff and these comments and this behavior has even occurred. It's unheard of. I have never seen anything like this in the 20+ years that I worked for city managers, never. And yet I'm watching these commission meetings going, did that really happen? I got personally attacked on Facebook and said I was a racist and a bigot because I didn't stand up to somebody, because I didn't, and I'm like, how can I be a racist when I have family members
Biracial children.
that have interracial, I have cousins I have family members that are gay, and I'll just openly say it. So why would you put this on Facebook for all of everyone in the community? It hurt my heart so badly. Like I can't even tell you how badly that hurt, that a correlation with a city commissioner, somebody did that and put that out there. That stuff has to stop. Anybody doing it across the board. But I was a perfect, innocent person. I don't even know how something like that could get out on Facebook and be said about me because, I'm supporting the burn committee and I'm not dispelling something. Anybody can say what they want. It's not for me to say, you can't say that, you can't do that. But to say I'm something that I'm not it's documented. It's forever saved. It's not gonna go anywhere. We know the connection. We know the connections to the commissioner, and it has to stop. One way or another, it's got to stop.
I didn't know there were international CM guidelines.
International City Managers Association, there's an OCMA and an ICMA. And there's, you take a code, it's an ethics thing.
OCMA and ICMA.
Yeah, OCMA is Ohio City Managers Association, and ICMA is International City Managers Association. And our city manager, all the city managers I work for were involved, obviously in both, you have to be involved with OCMA. International, you don't so much, but you also can have like a retirement there, and you take an oath. You take, cause I mean, city managers move from state to state, county to county, and you take an oath. You take it's a ethics oath and behavior and not speaking badly about a previous employee, not speaking badly about a previous city manager. Just let those chips fall where they may fall. You know, don't engage in that kind of stuff. And, you know, yeah, city manager's job is hard at times. They've got to discipline employees, they've got to, you know, work within the city, but some of the things I've seen happen and some of the things that I've read, we as citizens, once we're apart from that, we can speak out and we can speak our mind. We shouldn't be shamed for being a part of the community. We now have more so now, in 27 years, I didn't have that ability really to say what I liked or didn't like. I could go to the city manager's office and say, I don't think that's right, I don't think those increases on utilities, I don't think that's, that's just my opinion, but I can't go out into the public and do that. And now that I can, or speak out about what's happening in neighborhoods and such, I've gotten backlash from that as well. And that again, we'll deal with when we need to deal with that. I know I serve on a board for the city as well as you guys. I serve on the board, but what I do apart from serving on that board, when I'm in there, I took an oath, and I'll uphold my oath into what I'm researching and what I'm voting on. And that's that, and that's in and of itself. But anything I'm talking to you guys about or reporting on, leave it alone. You as a city manager don't need to comment, you don't just stay away. Anything that's happening personally with me or my family, stay away from, and with me.
Yeah, there needs to be boundaries. You need to respect those.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I just unloaded, but I've gone through as much as you guys have gone through.
More
So
so.
I would say Debbie, thank you. I think all of us just need to work together as, because ultimately the goal is to make Pickwa better.
That's it,
And just make the city.
that's it.
On that note, I'd like to share that I'm having another event September 21st, it's a Saturday. It's to mark the 1 year from when we protested, proved the site to be unfit. When the EPA came and shut it down. And so we would like to have a Heal Pickwa event, it'll be at North Star. We'll have like little cornhole and ice cream and face painting, there'll be a drum circle, we'll have spoken word, and we'll also have a comedy show to close it out. So anyone is able to come, we may have adobo, it's not, no one has covered, the ice cream is free. If you want adobo, you'll have to purchase that. But face painting is free for the kids, we just want there to be a sense of community and to mark that 1 year because we all came together, our numbers, we were stronger or in numbers, and we just want to heal this community because we've all been hurt and we need to move forward and we need to move forward together. So we just want to have a little celebration, all include, everyone's invited, all ages, there's no exclusions for anyone, all are welcome to come. So September 21st.
Thanks so much,
begins, what are the hours?
We're gonna figure that, probably about 11 to 5. Yeah, but I will circle back and let you know for sure. I'm gonna post it online, but I wanted to let you know we're gonna have a heel Piqua event, friendly event.
Good community things, just get back on what's important. That's
Yeah.
also we all want,
We just want to
healthy.
appreciate each other.
Sounds great.
I wish we could just get there and just
And Scott Smith is coming back.
be over it, there's a lot of work.
Hopefully we'll be here by the end of the month. We're working that out.
Would this be like another symposium or like?
He'll be coming to do testing.
Okay.
The city has granted him access to test,
Well, that's good.
so he will have access to do the testing.
Hopefully I'll be available to do testing with him. He talked a lot about that at the symposium. I was moved by that. I spoke with him quite a few times since then, actually. He's very knowledgeable, very smart, like I was saying. And yeah, we worked it out with the city that he could go out there and test. I would like to go do side-by-side testing with him. And there was hope that we could send it off to the city's lab, and then he can send it off to his lab, or we can send it off to both labs. But yeah, we had discussed it the last time that he was here.
That would be good. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds good. I think it would be good if both
We need to know.
testings were on just one and everybody could be there to see it versus, okay, this
We had to
testing,
test
Oh, the dual testing was his idea. That was what he talked about at the
just
symposium.
independent, you mean?
side by side.
Yeah, I mean, he talks, you might know more than I do about that, but he talked multiple times about doing testing together. He talked about that in his documentaries, he talked about it at the symposium during his speech. But he talked about doing testing together, that it should be kind of a group event, so that there's not, after the fact, after the results come out, there's not this idea that, well, we didn't see it get taken, but if it's a kind of a group activity.
So
He spoke
one like
quite-
Scott's test would go to Pennsylvania and be tested, and then yours would go to Piqua, and what if you had different results, and then you'd be like,
I have no idea. I don't know.
What do you need a city's lab?
It sounds like we're getting off into like the nitty gritty of what happens after. I'm talking about the event of like, we're gonna go out there and take samples. I don't know what's gonna happen with them after that. That's outside my expertise.
I mean, they do on-site testing, but typically it's taken off-site, it goes.
There's not very many labs that are
Yeah, the kind of chemical,
qualified. I think it's a level 3 lab that you need, and there's
It's a different type of testing.
yeah, the kind of chemical testing that is looking for, like, I think that, yeah, there's not a lot of labs that are certified to do that. I believe after Scott reviewed the testing reports that the city had, I think he uses his lab either uses the same certifier or it is the same lab, because they're kind of like only a couple nationally. But I mean,
Eurofins.
What's
is the
that?
lab.
Huh?
Eurofins.
Yeah, so I mean,
For
what I
Scott.
imagine is he can do his.
That's
and
great that
so-
you'll both be together and see
Yeah.
exactly what you're, so you can each testify, well, we bored down to, 2 feet, and then we bored down to.
We don't go down, that's why I don't
Well,
trust the
surface.
samples.
Well,
Scott
it'll be
stated at
there.
the symposium, and when I went to East Palestine, the
Yeah.
other experts stated, when you go down 4 feet, or when you go down to 4 feet, it's to hide something. We went down to 4 feet. I saw the documents, they requested to go 10 feet. 10 feet,
Well, you're not gonna get that for years.
we need a surface sample.
Yeah, and I believe that the documents that Scott got reviewed some of the swab testing that was done. I believe you guys, Dave and Nancy, I believe you guys saw where the swab testing was taken at.
Yeah.
And then, so I mean, yeah, whatever kind of testing he wants to do, we already cleared that with Paul and Kevin when a couple weeks after Scott was here.
that's
I talked to him on the
awesome.
phone multiple times. He came in and talked to me in person. I talked to Kevin and Craney. we were more than happy to invite him back and to have him out at that site.
That's great to
We
hear.
were willing to have him out there the day after, he just had to get back to Columbus for some other event that he was doing. But yeah, my last few contacts with him have been more of that same energy and spirit of, yeah, we'll just go out there and find out what's going on.
I think that would be fantastic.
That's awesome, yeah, that needed to happen.
He has such an amazing passion for this. It's great.
Yeah, we all heard him speak and he said, I thought East Palestine was bad. But, when you're burning those kind of toxins right next to a waterway and, the whole thing of, we closed off the bike path, I'm seeing that, like, we put up warning signs and I'm like, come on, you got people saying that they're riding by on their bicycles and running and there's no warning signs, no. So, I don't wanna go as far as to say a blatant lie, but maybe a blatant fib that those occurrences happened. We had signs out and,
And now you see automobiles with lithium batteries
Oh.
on fire on the interstate and they evacuate a mile radius around it,
it's insane. Yeah, you see it
Yeah.
every day out on the west coast and I have a cousin that lives in Phoenix and she lived here a lot of her life and then her husband's physician took him out there. She said, we have these out in the desert where they're burning these things, but when I read, it's not funny, I don't know why I'm laughing, but just her reaction to it kind of shell shocked me. That it's burnt right in Piqua at the old water plant by Echo Lake Swift Run, all of our, by the new water plant. She was just like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But you do have companies out in the desert that are blowing them up, stressing them, burning them to test. And I'm not saying that testing's a bad thing. But what we did here was, it was huge,
Yeah, I'm glad we shut that
huge
down.
mistake. Thank God it shut down. Now we just have to worry about what comes afterwards. Because every time you hear someone being sick,
brain cancer.
oh Lord, it's just.
Erica, you still with us?
Yeah.
I am still here,
Okay, so anything
great
else?
conversation.
Alicia, I was wondering, is there a date or like a time period for Scott coming back?
I mean, I will tell you not publicly
Okay.
after the meeting.
With that, I think just before we go, so our goals for next week. I wanna vote to recommend an attorney. We can get that to the city commission. I'll reach out to PSNE and you
I'll reach
reach out to Coolidge Wall.
But I need the updated SOW.
Yeah, so we'll
I
get
think I
that.
forwarded it to you.
I think you did.
He's gonna retype it.
Well,
Oh, okay,
I'll retype it.
Cause you said there's some handwritten stuff.
Yeah,
in it. I wanted that cleaned up.
So I'll do that and I'll send that to you guys. And then next week we'll discuss and vote on committee format, agendas.
I appreciate you listening to me and working through that. I appreciate that. That shows, I think, some good traits.
Yeah, I think we just gotta keep a united front.
I agree.
Honesty, and that's what you guys share.
We're all wanting the same thing. We all wanna know as much truth as we can have.
We're all on the same team, so.
Yep.
Then I put a motion to dismiss.
Second? Everybody in favor?
Yep.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Good night, Jared, thanks.
Thank you, Jerica.
Thank you, guys.